I don't know. Are people there?
There might be people there.
Is this thing
It says
on?
we're live, so
Oh, yeah.
I think we're live.
All right. Hi, everybody.
I see a lot.
Hello, Dr. Nick.
This is us
Welcome,
doing what we do.
welcome to the what are you even calling this? Just a hangout? CinemaSins Patreon hangout?
Yes. That
Yeah.
sounds snappy.
There's no way to really do a sin out. We can't do that.
A sin-in.
A hang sin,
A sin's position.
a sin's position.
A sinterrogation.
Yeah,
Oh.
sinterrogation.
Interrogation.
Out once.
Mm-hmm.
Very nicely done. Welcome to the debut interrogation. I will be moderating. I will basically be taking your questions, giving them to the guys, and then we'll hear what they have to say.
We're the guys. That's us. We're the guys.
We've got, if you for some reason don't know, on your left is Barrett.
Hello.
Is Jeremy.
Hi.
And on your right is Chris. So those are the guys.
I know. I just got here.
And on your other screen is Aaron Dicer, the wonderful mastermind behind this whole.
Oh, shucks.
He's the mastermind behind Patreon itself.
Yep.
That's how crazy.
I wish, man.
Yeah.
I take that. So let's get right into some questions. If you've got them, throw them up in the chat. First question to all you guys: what is your favorite Sins video?
Now, I always answer this question by saying Sinister.
Yeah.
Because I remember that's probably the one I watched the most times before we published it, because it just made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But the one we just published today is the new contender for me. The Skyscraper Sins video.
You got some good stuff in it.
Because it's just, we got a little bit bonkers with some of those sins. And it's always fun for me when I'm actually truly upset at a movie to narrate. And so I'll go with that. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, Sinister is a really high contender for me as well. And gosh, there's been quite a few over the years where I'm like, yeah, I got to remember that one, and I don't anymore. But I do remember Twilight being a fun one, and I don't know why. I think it's because we were still in the stages where we didn't think that we could go over like a 6-7 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So I was on that edit for a really long time trying to get it down to the nitty gritty in 7-8 minutes or whatever. And I don't know, the way everything flows on that video is great. So I like the Twilight one.
My favorites are the ones where all three of us write on it. So like we started Music Video Sins, all three of us were writing on that stuff. We did like Madonna's Like a Prayer. We did what was it? It was
Notorious Big.
Notorious B.I.G. That was awesome. And it was the Iggy Azalea Fancy. Yeah, was one of them. So that was awesome. But then my favorite CinemaSins that all three of us wrote on was probably Batman versus Superman, which was one of the first ones I think I wrote on. And it was awesome, man, because we were landing haymakers in that. Because we all hated it, obviously.
And then we had fun doing the extended edition.
Oh yeah, man! I thought that was gonna be the worst torture ever. But
yeah, that ended up being really fun.
Chris had 3 screens going on. He had like
that was fun.
He had the original version on his computer or on your TV, and then you had whatever the other one was, the extended edition, and then he had like your tablet or something.
I synced them up. And then, like, if something diverted, I have to like quickly pause and then watch the new scene or whatever. And then, like, once it got to the spot where the original was, then I would have to like resync, and everything.
Yeah, that's fun.
You always remember your first, Barrett.
What was your first, Aaron?
La La Land was the first one.
Right. I should have
really enjoyed that. By the way, that question was from Oren in the chat. So thank you, Oren, for being a supporter, for hanging out on Patreon with us. We appreciate it. This one's from Waxy. Will we get a dedicated episode to soundtrack sometime on the Sincast? A full episode dedicated to soundtrack.
Now you mean, I wonder if they mean soundtracks or score.
Either way.
Really?
And we did like a composer's Mount Rushmore.
We did. We also did a best music in movies, but that was an early podcast, probably before we started going to over an hour or 2 hours. We definitely could. Man, I could talk about that stuff all day, and I guess you guys probably could too.
I could too, and I would actually love to split it up between soundtrack and score, because I think they're two completely different things. Like Tarantino obviously has a knack for good soundtracks. I think Cameron Crowe does as well. But it's something like Phantom Thread, which is a movie that I only recently watched because it came on HBO. I've seen it about 3 times now because there's so much excellence to pick apart there. But what stands out to me more than anything is the freaking score in that movie, which is
Johnny Greenwood.
It's very reminiscent of the Adam Sandler movie that Pete Anderson made, Punch Drunk Love, in terms of how unsettling the score is, even though the imagery I'm seeing in Phantom Thread is this like gorgeous Victorian like dressmaking or lavish breakfast spreads. And I'm hearing this music that is often piano based, but it's like making me anxious. Anyway, I would love to do an episode like that. So it's probably something we'll look at.
It's almost the main theme of Phantom Thread. I'm glad you finally saw it, by the way. The main theme of Phantom Thread is a derivative of one of the La La Land themes.
Is it?
Yes. And I can't get it in my head right now, but I'll play it for you. And it's on the trailer, and it's all the way through Phantom Thread, and it kept reminding me of it's one of the little plinkets that Ryan Gosling does on the piano. It's fucking amazing.
You also have,
can we curse? We can curse.
You also have weird score.
You can curse.
You have weird score / soundtrack, whatever type of things where they don't have a composer. Like Shutter Island is one of those. 2001 obviously uses a lot of classical music and everything.
Does Arrival have an actual composer?
I don't know.
I think it does, but I think it's like Shutter Island in that they both use that same piece of music, but I think it uses a couple compositions that existed prior, but also has its own score.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Sometimes you can go through a movie like Shutter Island, it's got great music, and think, oh, that's the best score somebody's ever dreamed up, and it's like, well, it's a bunch of people. You know, it's hodgepodge.
The answer is yes, we could.
Yeah.
I think what really impressed me was the score for First Man. Because you were joking about the Justin Hurwitz, we're going to be like, somebody, the guy that we saw it with is going to be like, oh, Justin Hurwitz. I wanted to talk about that because that score was fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh my God.
We'll move on to Sailor Chibi Pluto 92.
Okay.
Whose actual name is Louise. She says, "Good day, I'm Louise. Fun fact: it's 3 a.m. right now in Australia."
Oh,
wow. And I figured, why not talk a little bit about like the fact that CinemaSins is international. You have a lot of international fans all over. Maybe if you have any stories from, meeting somebody from, I mean, obviously it doesn't get much further than Australia. That's all the way around the world. But, interesting stories like that, or even just thoughts on how film itself is becoming more global, like your thoughts and opinions on that.
I've got a funny story about that. So when we first started doing the podcast, on our web interface thing, it shows us on a map of geographically where our podcast goes. And I started seeing crazy stuff like Australia and Sweden. There's a lot of people in Sweden. And, all around Europe, all in Asia. Like there was at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 downloads or something like that. So I was showing it to my kid. And I was really excited about it. I was like, hey, look we're all over the world. People are listening to us all over the world. And he pointed at like the Congo or something like that in Central Africa. And he was like, why aren't there anybody? I was like, screw you, kid, get out of here. Anyway,
that kid would be excellent at cinema.
Yes, exactly.
You got anything?
So is the question asking what is the question actually asking here? What say that again?
Well, I'm just interested in anything on kind of an international level, even if it's just broader thoughts on film in general, how there are so many more movies now that are purposefully targeting international box office, even because of those.
You made that joke. I'm sorry, I just totally stepped all over you. We got a little bit of a speakerphone going on with the audio, but you made that joke in the Skyscraper Sins video today about how this is set in Hong Kong for totally structural reasons and not for anything to do with the international box office. Because I think if you look at that movie, I mean, that is probably now the new poster child for me in terms of movies that were created with the international box office in mind. But
what about The Great Wall?
Well, The Great Wall is another obvious example. And that actually made a bunch of money in China, as much as we make fun of it here. That's what's interesting to me, is that while we are now becoming this global community, and on the one hand, I can look at our YouTube stats and see people literally from almost any country in the world have watched our videos, and that's weird. But at the same time, our tastes are still so different that I think it's going to be decades before Hollywood truly figures out how to market. And can you market internationally? Or do you have to sort of choose a niche, right? Do you have to make a movie that's more to European interests or more to Asian interests or more to African interests? Or can you make a movie that will appeal to everyone? I don't know.
I guess they're following the money, man. Like the Chinese market is amazing. It used to be that if a movie that came out here made whatever it made was basically what it made worldwide. Like it made some worldwide, but like if it failed here, it was a failure completely. Now a movie like The Great Wall, which did nothing here,
right, completely inverted,
but did a ton in China. It's a profitable movie at this point, and I mean it's smart. It's also gotten to the point of being ridiculous though, because they do these things like Transformers. You know, Transformers like put all these product placement things in there.
Mm-hmm.
They set stuff in China and all that. And audiences are wise to it, but at the same time, you can't help but think that it's smart too, because they're getting the money, they're getting extra money they wouldn't have gotten before.
Yeah, what's fascinating to me, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more of this since, is Iron Man 3 like specifically shot extra footage just for the Chinese release that we didn't get in the American release, and that's fascinating to me because I think ultimately, at least from a creative standpoint, then you're creating multiple versions of something. You're not creating one film. Actually, as I say all this out loud, it sounds terrible. I don't want that to happen. Do we have another question that'll make me less?
We've got plenty of other questions. I'm especially curious about this one. Any of you see First Man yet? Which obviously you have because you've mentioned it. And what are your thoughts? This is from Tater65.
Tater!
Barrett and I saw it together. Really, really enjoyed it. Yes. I like it just like, I mean, I don't like it as much as The Right Stuff, but it's kind of that same kind of movie. And I really like it because it shows like those beginnings and what they were thinking about before they actually went up and all that. And
I expected to like it a little bit more. I still really, really do. But like there's an emotional plot point in there that is probably very, very important to Neil Armstrong's, state of mind and how it actually played out. They did extensive research for this. I'm sure it's very accurate, but they hammer that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
And the rest of the movie is so excellent that if you could just take it down 15-20% from that plot point, I think it would have been a better watch. Now, if you do that, maybe you lose some inaccuracy. So I understand why he did it. I was just like, all right, man. Yeah, we get it.
And there was that. I do love their when they finally get on the moon. Spoiler alert.
Oh my God. The claustrophobic stuff.
It's really good stuff and everything when they get on there. Although I was kind of interested. I was trying to figure out. I wonder if Damien Chazelle had the same sort of issue. Like it's just him basically, and he sees Buzz Aldrin bouncing.
Buzz Aldrin gets screwed.
Yeah, Buzz Aldrin does get screwed in this movie. But it's all from his perspective and everything. But we've been seeing his wife, throughout this whole thing, and there's nothing of her during the entire time they're on the moon. Nothing about, oh yay, he got on the moon, that's awesome. He's not her feelings about it or anything like that. So I wonder, but he would have had to broken up that moon thing, which is so awesome to do that. And it's one of those weird, like, what do you do situations.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is all reality, so it's not a spoiler, but they ended up breaking up. They ended up divorcing after like 30 years or something like that. So you could tell, and it's played really well, the tension between them with Claire Foy and Ryan Gosling. And you can tell there's early indications of this isn't going to work. Like in long term, this is not going to work. Short term, it has to work for the kids. So I guess maybe that's why he didn't go back to that as much as he did. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's just some little things in that movie that keep it from being an A+ in my mind. But when it is like humming, it's freaking amazing.
I really like Claire Foy. Like I haven't seen, what's the TV show that she's known for?
The Crown. Is The Crown?
Oh, it's something like that. It's the Crown or something like that.
Do you know, Aaron?
No, I really liked her in the Soderbergh film that she was in.
Yeah, that's insane. I saw her in that. And I thought she was really good in that, but nothing compared to what she was in this.
No, she's terrific in this.
I'm kind of interested in seeing how she plays the girl with the dragon tattoo, even though I don't think that movie's going to be very good.
No. It is The Crown.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay!
Woohoo! Brainbuster says, any chances of another March Madness type thing? Maybe most iconic movie character, something like that.
Well, if we ever find ourselves needing about 44 weeks worth of content, I can imagine.
I think we will probably revisit that.
I loved it.
I loved
had so
it
much
too.
fun doing that.
There was so much anticipation, and we didn't know where it was going to go because everybody's bringing, their own thoughts into it and not putting it out there like before. Like we have an email that goes around, and we didn't sit there and go, "I'm going to pick the Matrix."
No, well, yeah, because that's how you get upsets. Like, what was it? Sideways over Usual. Yeah. LA Confidential.
Yeah.
And then Rocky over The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Shame.
Shame.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, we had a lot of fun. Maybe we won't do like 64 or something like that. But I got to tell you, I think a lot of people are really, pardon the pun, on board with the movie road trip that we're doing. I love that stuff, man. Like it's just delving into like a societal thing and like how movies view a particular region, and you get into movies that we don't typically talk about. So once we finish that, we'll find something else.
Yeah.
Eli says, who's the best director of the three amigos? Cuarón, Inarritu, or Del Toro?
My vote would be Cuarón, because even though, isn't Inarritu one of the three amigos?
Yes. And then Guillermo del Toro, the other one.
Yeah, and so there are things to like about all three of them. Obviously, we're picking from three really good directors here, and I'm really excited about Del Toro's Pinocchio announcement. I think he's going to make some kind of for Netflix.
See, I was not excited about
really
that. Yeah, I don't know why. I just think. Am I shaking the thing? I can see why you might be. Just for me, it's like I've seen the Pinocchio story told a million times. Now, I guess, is it a TV series?
I don't know. I actually couldn't tell from the article I read, and I found my own reaction weird because I haven't really connected to a lot of his stuff.
Yeah,
and maybe that's what it is for me, is that there's a story I can connect with, and maybe his visual style combined with that. I don't know, but I would just pick Cuarón because I feel like his have more texture emotionally. I think you can watch Inarritu, something like The Revenant, and say it's a fantastic movie, and it is, but it's a much more surface level, visceral kind of a human experience. Whereas Cuarón, even as early as like Harry Potter and Prisoner of Azkaban, I feel like he gets more into the psyche of it all. I don't know. That's just me.
I would say Cuarón, definitely. Like almost every time he comes out with a movie, I end up saying I liked that. Even back in the 90s, where he had it was A Little Princess, I believe, or was it? I think it was A Little Princess.
I think so.
Yes, and then
I always in the 90s it came out with these children's films like A Little Princess and Secret Garden and stuff like that.
And The Secret Princess.
Yeah, The Secret Princess, and don't forget The Little Garden. But no, they all of those. I think it's A Little Princess though. That one immediately tells you like what a visually gifted director he is. Even Great Expectations, which I know Barrett loves, is another one of those that's visually great. But then Harry Potter.
The way people are talking about this Aroma that's coming up on Netflix, man, I am geeked to watch this.
A Little Princess, you're correct. Okay, look, I was going to say Inarritu, because he's had some amazing stuff. We just talked about Birdman. We talked about The Revenant recently. He's been on a tear recently. But look at this stuff for Cuarón. A Little Princess, Great Expectations, which I love. Y Tu Mama Tambien, which is great. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which was landmark. Children of Men, Gravity, and then this Roma. Man, yeah, you can't. I mean, we're all kind of not down on Guillermo del Toro, but not as infatuated as everybody else is. So I think it's Cuarón by a landslide.
Yeah, and I think if we're talking about the actual Three Amigos, everyone knows that it's like Steve Martin is the best.
I was gonna vote for little Ned,
Little Lucky,
Marty Short.
Lucky Ned.
Well, it's funny because when I first read the question, I thought he was asking who would be the best director for a remake of The Three Amigos.
It would be Alfonso Cuarón.
Yes.
Please God, don't
Wherever there's injustice, I'll be there.
All right. Nick says there are always those movies that seem better if they were in a TV show format. What movies do you guys think would improve vastly if they were TV shows instead?
Dark Tower.
That's a pretty good.
Screw that movie. That movie sucks ass. And
AYU.
I mean, I know it was in different iterations. It was going to be like a mini series, and then it was going to be like a TV series plus a movie, and there was going to be several movies, and then they just decided, fuck it, we're just going to release one shitty movie.
Yeah,
with McConaughey.
what was up with that?
It sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a story. Even if you just do the fucking Gunslinger as a mini series or something like that, or the drawing of the three, throw in like the first 3 books or something. That do it in a TV series. Don't give us this bullshit that they gave us last 2 years.
It's funny. 2 movies that I've thought about this for have made TV shows since. Barbershop would have been a great TV show. I mean, they made that TV show. It didn't last for whatever reason. I never saw it. So I thought Barbershop would, because of the episodic nature of like having the talks in the barbershop, having a in the now discussion and everything like that. That's what's so great about the movie Barbershop, is just all the stuff that they're just saying in the shop. Then The Purge, which has just recently come out with a TV show. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it sucks.
Really?
I haven't heard it's not. I've heard it's not very good. But that seems like perfect prime territory to go through, because this whole like movie thing where they're already doing it episodically and everything isn't working for me anymore. Like it would be cool to see like not just the urban settings, but see like people in Kansas.
Yeah.
Like what about the rural settings, you know?
What about the rural jurors?
Yeah, or the rural jurors. I think it would be awesome though to see that. Like it would be cool if they did a Cloverfield style thing with The Purge, where you don't even know it's the fucking purge, and then like you see this family like getting having dinner or whatever at night, and they're like, well, you gotta bar up those doors tonight, blah blah blah, and then like people are coming out and just fucking killing everybody and stuff. So I think that would be cool, but
I agree.
I don't have a good answer. I can make something up. I'll say The Three Amigos.
I would watch.
Hey, they can just keep going town to town, being hired and nobody knows for some reason that they're TV stars. Like just keep doing that thing over and over again.
I've been shot already.
I do think. I guess this is a weak answer, but I do think I've seen the new movie It from last year about 3 times now, and I just feel like what that movie gets right, and the casting and the chemistry between the young actors, I want more of that. And it's over too fast, and now they're going to grow up, and I guess we'll get a flashback or 2. But I could have watched, and I know the original It was like a mini series or what have you. I could have watched an 8-episode, Sharp Object style It season, and really just kind of steeped in those relationships that would-be love triangle never gets a chance to really blossom. Anyway, that would be an answer I would throw off.
That is a good answer.
Somebody in the chat mentions Harry Potter might make a good like high production value TV series. If you
Nope, not at all.
I mean, like you essentially get that just in cinematic form. It's almost like Sherlock. The Cumberbatch Sherlock is essentially mini movies. It's like an hour and a half each episode, right? And those could have played in movie theaters. But Harry Potter, I think, was so episodic, and it exhaustively covered so much of the material, even to its detriment in those last 2. I think it's fine as is.
The thing for me is it does it have to have, this is going to sound stupid, but does it have to have Harry Potter in it? Could it just be like other students, like years later, that type of thing, like Saved by the Bell?
that would be Saved by the Bell.
About, you know, like Harry Potter, the new class. This is where they go to Malibu.
Oh my God!
But like they could do that. Yeah, they could do that where it's like more students, more, you know, there's more stuff. You know, hopefully it's not Voldemort every single time.
Well, yeah,
but maybe like one of, you know, maybe one of his assistants was also doing Horcrux shit. You know,
well, you're right, because it should take place after, however they build up Hogwarts again, because this prequel bullshit is not getting me from the Grindelwald or whatever,
yeah.
the Fantastic Beasts, because it's too reliant on the beasts and the CGI and not like the characters and the students. That's what was so good to begin with.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you could do it if it was maybe not Harry Potter, or it could be like parallel things that are happening at the same time. Maybe it's the American school or the whatever, the other schools that are around. It could be that too. Who knows? But yeah, I think it could work.
Cut to 5 years from now in the first episode of Saved by the Spell.
Yeah,
He's been holding that for.
he has. He's been dying.
Well, I actually said it in the moment, but everybody's laughing too hard to hear it. Anyway,
whatever. You didn't say it.
John said, this question is mostly for Jeremy, but everybody is welcome to answer. Since you've come out so strongly against the Disney live-action remakes, how do you feel about the Broadway remakes, and why?
I'm going to surprise you and tell you that I'm okay with those, because I feel like Broadway is a different medium, and going from animated film to live-action film is not a different medium. Now, I'm fresh off having seen Hamilton a couple times, and I've been talking with a friend online who loves Hamilton, but only has heard the musical, hasn't seen the show, and it's going soon. And I've been trying to explain how it's different. You can love the audio, but once you get that visual, once you feel the excitement of a packed house, once you can smell the burning paper when she drops it in the bucket, it's an entirely different experience as a live stage show than it would be from a soundtrack. And it's the same with the movies. The Lion King show is fantastic. So I imagine the Frozen one is good. Whatever they want to do in that realm, they have my blessing, because that's not my gripe. My gripe is with film specifically and recycling the catalog from animated to live action. And we're just going to, you know what, 30 years from now, they're just going to flip that shit back around, and they're going to be doing an animated Lion King, and they're going to make it like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys want to weigh in on that?
No, I like
your your answer is good.
All right, then.
Probably got time for one more, Aaron?
Yeah, I think we've got time for one more. Let me see if I can.
We need one more?
You think we need one more?
I think we need one more.
We'll get one more.
All right. The Labyrinth 8993.
I like that name.
Says, do any of you guys have a favorite movie theater company, or just a movie theater in general that is your favorite?
So like Regal or AMC?
Yeah.
Like as far as corporate is concerned, there's no difference between anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe
AMC,
if we
Regal,
had
and
an Alamo
Paramount.
Draft House, I might choose that, just because they seem to at least shush people and kick them out when they're loud, and that alone would be worth it for me.
Bar none here in Nashville, Belcourt is my favorite theater. Belcourt, is the independent theater. They play all the art house stuff and everything like that. When I lived in New York, my favorite theaters were the Angelica and the Sunshine Theater, which no longer exists, unfortunately. I think when we went out there, I read an article like it was within a month or so of being. It's just going to be condos now, like everything in the world. But those theaters right there were the ones that I really, really enjoyed being at.
Did you ever go to the Music Box Theater in Chicago?
Yes, that's where I saw.
Aaron, have you been there?
Yeah.
Oh, what did you? Oh,
I saw the Sally Field movie.
Was it Normal Ray?
Normal Ray.
I was watching that last night. Music Box Theater in Lakeview in Chicago is like everything I love about a theater. It's got a grand, opulent auditorium. You can tell there's a lot of history in there. They do events like having Sally Field introduce Norma Ray. I was there to watch Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man, which Nick Offerman introduced. And it's just got, this is the theater that if you ever watch High Fidelity and he goes on the date with the movie review, the critic, this is where they go. Is the Music Box Theater in Chicago, and it's fantastic. Now, special bonus points. It was like 3 blocks away from my apartment, so that was really easy to get to. Super cheap. I loved it. So if you ever find yourself there, totally worth going.
My favorite auditorium in my lifetime was the Paramount Theater in Kankakee, Illinois, where I worked and went to school in that town. And at the time I was there, it was this 1,000 seat, built in the early 1900s, restored, awesome, opulent, like you're talking about, the Music Box Theater. Now it has since, I've been sent pictures by somebody, they since took all those seats out and refurbished everything. Still looks amazing and old, but they put in the modern seats. So now there's only like 300 wide seats with cup holders and you can recline back. But man, I almost 50% of my happy movie going memories were in that main auditorium at that theater. It was just a really good time in my life, I guess.
Couple of others. We had a great experience at whatever they're calling Grauman's Chinese in LA. The Mad Max Fury Road we saw there was a great experience. That's one of those you walk in, it's a movie palace. I love movie palaces in general. That place is great. And then another one in New York. This is a chain theater, and I'm wondering if it started out this way, but I believe it's an AMC. It's the Lincoln Center one.
Oh yeah,
and it's a 14 screen or whatever. This is where I saw 2001 in IMAX.
Oh.
And every theater in every auditorium in there is got a theme to it, like a Cleopatra or something like that. And so there's like some little extra details, some bells and whistles to the actual auditorium experience and everything. So those are fun to go to, even though it's still, you can still, you go in, it's an AMC, right? It's everything about it as far as the way it's run is still a corporation, and it still sucks. And you really can't get any. I mean, that's the thing about Regal, AMC, all these places, is that they run it in a way where it's a bare bones staff. And your experience before the movie is always a little lackluster.
Yep.
So
shout out as well to I think it used to be called the Cinerama Dome, where we went and saw Phantom.
Oh yeah,
in LA is really nice. Grauman's is interesting too, because you can feel the history there when you go watch the movie there. It's like literally premieres with Hitchcock and all these famous people from throughout time have been there. It's pretty impressive. We have
in that theater, you can run over people with your car just like you did in Grand Theft Auto.
That's correct.
Totally legal.
There's a mock-up of that theater in Grand Theft Auto.
Before we finish out, final words, thank yous to the patrons, all that kind of stuff from you guys.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this every month. We're working on. I know, except for 3 a.m. in Australia, which is super convenient. A lot of people in the U.S. are working at this time. Obviously, they can log on to it if they're patrons at this level. They can log on and view this video later on. But we're working around some times and everything to maybe make it more convenient to our U.S. Viewers, and we love it. This is a lot of fun. We answer questions on the Sincast. Sometimes we get to them. Sometimes we do full mailbag episodes, but this is more interactive. And awesome.
No, this was actually a lot more fun than I expected. And yeah, I really do want to thank you for signing up as patrons and watching our videos and consuming our content, allowing us to continue doing this. It means the world to us. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I can't wait to do this again, actually. So
let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Moderating. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's on your end, Barrett, to shut us down and send us away. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.